If you're thinking about moving to South Florida, there's that one city that continues to stand out, and that is the city of Fort Lauderdale. This city blends beaches, boating, and real neighborhoods all in one place. In this video, I'm going to walk you through Fort Lauderdale from top to bottom, including its history, layout, neighborhoods, beaches, downtown, and what life really looks like here. There's so much more to this great city as well, which is why I'm currently in downtown Fort Lauderdale, also known as Las Olas. We're going to discuss shopping, activities, but we'll get to that in just a minute. When you stay until the end, I will share with you the best kept secret in this city that you definitely do not want to miss. If this is your first time on the channel and want to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the surrounding areas, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about the current market in Fort Lauderdale. My name is Hector Valdes. I was born, raised, and have lived in South Florida my whole life. My team and I love helping people make their move to Fort Lauderdale, whether it's 9 days or 9 months. Feel free to reach out. Our contact info is in the description. We'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale. So let's get started. So, if you're not familiar with Fort Lauderdale is located essentially in Broward County. Broward County is right next to Miami-Dade County. So we're actually only about 30 minutes outside of Miami, or so, depending on traffic, of course. So what's great about Fort Lauderdale is that Fort Lauderdale is actually located right on the Atlantic. So we have a great beach, tons of buildings over on the beach, lots of condos and different options to be right by the beach. Fort Lauderdale is also known as the Venice of America. And the reason for that is because we have an extensive canal system all throughout the city. And what's great about that is that there are different price points. So you have some super high-end areas, and then you have some areas that are a little bit more attainable in terms of price point. As I mentioned before, we're here on beautiful Las Olas. Las Olas is really notable because you're going to see tons of Mediterranean architecture. There's a lot of restaurants. Some of my favorites are American Social and Big City Tavern. And you're going to have art galleries, boutique stores where you're going to find things that you're not going to find really anywhere else, which is really great. And you can walk around, really enjoy the scenery. What's great also about Las Olas is you have a water taxi. So the new river actually flanks Las Olas, so it's actually adjacent, pretty easy to walk to. You can catch a water taxi and catch it to different parts of the city. Really enjoyable, easy to walk. It's one of my favorite places in town. It's really the cultural hub of Fort Lauderdale. In addition to great shopping and dining options, Las Olas offers great options in terms of residences. Just to the north of Las Olas, you're going to have Victoria Park. Victoria Park has a mix of single-family homes, townhomes, and some apartment buildings. As you travel going west on Las Olas, you're going to have an area where you have a lot of residential buildings. These buildings offer great amenities and gorgeous views from mainly most of the units. Just on the other side of the new river, you're going to have more condo buildings. Those also have great accessibility to Las Olas. So all in all, it's a great area in terms of being able to walk and really enjoy life and still have accessibility. From this area and in Fort Lauderdale in general, you have lots of great options in terms of transportation. Fort Lauderdale International Airport is roughly going to be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes up to 20 minutes depending on what part of the city that you're in. Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport is an international airport, so it does fly to most of the Caribbean and it also flies to Europe. Port Everglades is our seaport. Port Everglades is the largest cruise seaport in the world. So you can really sail to a lot of the Caribbean. You could also do transatlantic. All the big cruise lines sail from Port Everglades. So you have lots of accessibility with regards to that. You also have access to Miami International Airport, although it's a little bit further away. It takes about 40 to 45 minutes depending on traffic. So if you have an international flight out of Miami, it's not too far as well. So now that I've given you the lowdown about Las Olas and Fort Lauderdale, we're going to check out some other parts of the city, including some neighborhoods with single family homes, a great neighborhood with some more condo options, and we're going to check out the beach as well. So can't wait for you to check it out. All right, so we just left Las Olas. We're driving down and we're going to take Las Olas Boulevard down over to the beach. So you'll kind of see like what this drive essentially would look like. Obviously you can see from this angle, it's really pretty. It's a really pretty drive and it's very busy. We're in our busy season. It's actually winter. Take it all the way to the beach. And from this angle, you can see there's lots of businesses and restaurants, lots going on. which is great. We love that. So here you can see the business district is kind of ending here, and we're going to be driving by Las Olas Isles. That area is actually has a lot of waterfront homes, essentially lots of boaters, etc. The homes are pretty expensive. They're kind of in that 5 million mark to start and kind of up from there. There's a few condos in that area, but mostly single family waterfront estates. So here you can really see as we're getting closer to the beach and we're, essentially on the borderline of Las Olas Isles, you can see all these huge yachts. Fort Lauderdale is a big draw also for boaters. We have kind of a big boat show in Fort Lauderdale, which is very popular. It's world renowned and it gets pretty busy during that time. And it actually just took place. It was back in December. The other thing we have here, which takes place along the New River, is the boat parade. So that's pretty spectacular as well. You have these little bridges that go over to the Isles. It's very pretty. So we're going to cross over this bridge. We have a waterway between the little barrier island of the beach and the mainland called the Intercoastal. So you can kind of see the Intercoastal on the right side there. And then you're going to see the ocean right in front of us right as we cross this bridge and get to the top of this little hill. And here we are. So it's just that easy to come over from Las Olas over to the beach. So if you live in Las Olas, like for example in one of those residential buildings, it's actually super easy to come over to the beach. And obviously, who doesn't love the convenience of being able to just get right onto the beach? As you can tell, we have a little bit of traffic here. Not too much of a surprise because that tends to happen a lot, especially during this time of year. And we're going to turn on Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard, which is also known as Ocean Boulevard. This little beach right here is called Las Olas Beach. So we're making a left here. This area tends to be very touristy. Obviously, you have the gorgeous ocean right there on the right side. On the left, you're going to have lots of restaurants. Senor Frog's is a Mexican restaurant that I like a lot. Lots of dining where you can sit outside and really enjoy the ocean front. And look at how pretty that is. Lots of people out, which is nice to see. So over here on the left, you can see the W Hotel. Great location. There's a steakhouse there called Steak 954, like the area code, and it's a great restaurant. Here is another hotel over here on the left. It's called the Conrad. Another restaurant on the left, Trulux, which is seafood. I love seafood and I love Trulux. It's an excellent restaurant. So what's nice here, if you wanted to come up, is kind of north of essentially this area. The beach is going to be a lot calmer. So as you get further north here, we're going to come up on a couple of different residential neighborhoods. So I'll definitely go into more detail in another video. So stay tuned in terms of all in Fort Lauderdale Beach, because they all are pretty different. All right, so here we are in Imperial Point. This is a great neighborhood. The reason I love this neighborhood so much is because most of the floor plans are actually pretty big. So you're going to notice as I'm kind of walking around the neighborhood, most of the homes are pretty large. Most of them are actually remodeled. So you're going to find a lot of late 1960s, 1970s construction. So that's actually a really great thing because you're going to have a lot of homes that are built as kind of larger, more established family homes is I guess the best way to say it. So you're going to have 3 to 4 bedrooms. You're going to have 2 to 3 baths. Most of them have either a 1 or a 2 car garage and have carports like this one actually that we're walking by right now. There are some that have like really cute like 1960s architectural detail, some brick detailing. All in all, it's a great neighborhood. So we're actually going to be coming up. The next house over here is actually one that's listed. It's actually listed at $765. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, almost about 1,400 square feet. It does offer a pool as well. So obviously you can see this is a really cute home, great price point. So really love Imperial Park for that. All in all, a great neighborhood, and it's close to Federal Highway where you're gonna have lots of businesses, you know, the usual stuff, supermarkets, pharmacies, things of that nature. So great amenities nearby. So here we're gonna do a little driving tour of Imperial Point. So you can see most of the homes are pretty well manicured. You're definitely gonna notice that many homes have been remodeled, but some of them still have retained that vintage 1960s Florida style as we kind of drive through it. So we're going to turn here and go over onto Imperial Point Drive, and we're going to take this out to Federal Highway, where I'm going to show you some businesses that are close by, which is really helpful when you need to just make a run to the supermarket, pharmacy, whatever it is that you may have a particular need for. And then here we're coming out to Federal Highway. Federal Highway Highway is a main road that goes from north to south. It covers most of Fort Lauderdale, and it's kind of like an artery through the east side of town. And here we are exiting Imperial Point. Here is Federal Highway, and then we're going to check out and see what's available here for everyone to kind of, make use of course. So obviously there's quite a bit of traffic on Federal Highway, which is pretty typical because it is a major artery. So over here on the right, you're going to have a Bank of America. Up ahead, you're going to have a Wells Fargo. Again, it's really all about conveniences on Federal Highway and what you need for your daily life. Over on the left, you have a Starbucks and lots of little places to grab a quick bite to eat. Then over here on the right, you have Holy Cross Hospital. Definitely a nice hospital to have nearby, so that is helpful, of course. Oh, so check out here on the right. This is actually the expansion of Holy Cross. So they're building a whole new wing to it, which is nice to see. So Poinsettia Heights is a nice neighborhood. It's actually right up against Federal as well, and there's a lot around it. So over here on the right, you have a Mexican restaurant, La Bamba, and there's a couple of eateries. The Whole Enchilada is another Mexican restaurant that I like a lot. Hamburger Jacks, lots to choose from. Over here on the left, we have Fresh Market. I love Fresh Market. We go there all the time. They have like the best of the best. So it's nice to have that close by here in Fort Lauderdale through all these residential areas. And then TD Bank here on the right, as I mentioned, Ashley and Modani on the right as well. And then we have the Mai Kai. So over here on the right, the Mai Kai is a Hawaiian restaurant. It's quite an experience. I went there probably about a year ago. It's definitely a tourist attraction. They do a pretty spectacular show and serve a very nice dinner. And over here on the right, you can see there's some new buildings being constructed. Many of these are apartment buildings. We have a PDQ. And then over here on the left, we have a plaza that has a Publix, which is our go-to grocery store in Florida. We have the Coral Ridge Mall, which is kind of a smaller mall. And we have Target. So this is kind of like our main Target in Fort Lauderdale at the intersection of Oakland Park Boulevard and Federal Highway. So we're traveling south, getting a little bit closer to Poinsettia Heights. So here we have the original Pancake House, which serves breakfast, which is great. I love breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's one of my favorite. A car wash over here, Majestic. I've been there quite a bit, actually. They have great service there. And over here to the right, you have Burlington Coat Factory. You have a Chick-fil-A over on the left. And there's a little restaurant here on the corner. It's another breakfast place because I love breakfast food. Egg and You Diner. So we go there quite a bit on the weekend. We love going there on Sundays. They have amazing quality. It is a little bit of a hole in the wall. It looks like it hasn't really been touched since the 1970s, but the food is great. Absolutely love the food. And they're super nice there, which of course always helps. Again, on the left, you have a Pottery Barn, Sephora. There's a Nothing Bundt Cakes, which has great cakes. Lots of restaurants, lots to choose from. So I really love this area because it's super convenient. There's also another Publix down this way as well, a little bit further south. You have a Barnes & Noble bookstore. You have a Best Buy. There's a great Mexican restaurant called Zona Fresca, and that's going to be further down on the right. We love going there. We go there at least twice a month. It's one of our favorites. Over on the left, you're going to have PetSmart, and then you're going to have Trader Joe's, and then one of my favorites, which is Nordstrom Rack. I go there more often than I would like to admit, of course. There's an Office Depot, so lots of conveniences, super close by. We love that. So you're going to see a lot of bungalow style homes, like for example, the one right behind me. So we're going to walk down the street and we're going to swap back and forth a little bit between left and right, just so you can see different types of homes that I'm talking about. So over here on the right, you're going to see kind of another kind of Mediterranean bungalow style that is pretty dominant in Poinsettia Heights. So most of the homes are really cute, but they're really small. They're generally on larger lots. But the interesting thing that's happening in this particular neighborhood is that over time, the homes have been knocked down because they are located on larger lots. Most of the lots are 8,000, 9,000 square feet. You have these new construction homes coming in, which I'm going to show you at the end of the block. So you're going to see another one over here to the left. So I'm going to swap over this side and you're going to see this home. It's been beautifully done, but it's definitely a very bungalow style home. Really pretty though. And then over here is another really pretty one. So this one has a lot of brick details. It has this like little crest, which tends to be pretty common in Poinsettia Heights. Most of them feature like a little dolphin or a flamingo or a palm tree, very kind of old Florida. And then I'm gonna swipe over to the other side again. And then we have this one. This one's really interesting. This one kind of has a 1950s feel as well. A little bit less Florida bungalow, but really cute nonetheless. Very nicely done home. So definitely a very walkable neighborhood. I've walked this neighborhood before, and on the weekend you have lots of friendly neighbors, people walking their dogs. Very nice community. It was actually a community I considered purchasing in, but we ended up going elsewhere. But it is nonetheless a great area. And we're gonna be coming up to 2 empty lots. These lots look like they're primed for development. I'm not aware of anything going on there, but I'm gonna show it to you coming up on the left. There's another kind of bungalow style. That one has a carport, super cute. And then over here, we have 2 empty lots. So I'm sure they are going to get developed into new homes. I'm pretty certain of that. We just don't know what type of architecture. So I'm gonna swap over to the other side to show you this beautiful new construction home. I believe this home is actually, well, first of all, it's super modern. So that's kind of the new construction that's coming in, but there's kind of a mix. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna do a driving tour afterwards. So this one is actually priced at $2 million. So it's a pretty hefty price tag, but that's pretty common for this area. There is about 4 bedrooms and it does have a pool. So very, very nice home. All right, so here we are driving through Poinsettia Heights, and you're going to see kind of a mix of architectural styles. We just passed a kind of like a southern Georgian type of home. Again, you're going to see the bungalow type homes as well, but we're going to go down to 18th Street, and you're going to be able to see a lot of the new construction that I was mentioning earlier. They're mainly modern, but there's a couple that are actually more traditional looking, which is really interesting. So here's a bungalow one on the right, super cute. Definitely a lot of history in the neighborhood. And again, you're going to continue seeing that little crust detail. Here's a newer one coming up on the right. Really beautiful neighborhood. So over here on the right, you're going to see this 2-story home. So there's an architect, developer by the name of Glenn Wright that built these kind of 2-story larger homes. You'll kind of see them through Poinsettia Heights. You'll also see them also in Wilton Manors, which is the adjacent community. And they were mainly developed in the early 2000s. And it definitely has kind of a throwback to kind of a southern type of home with a porch in the front and those types of details. And we're going to make a right here. Obviously a lot of palm trees in some of these homes, some nice landscaping, really pretty. And this particular road, 18th, takes you down to Federal Highway, where I was kind of showing you all those businesses. So what's great about Poinsettia Heights is that there are no townhomes and no condos, no apartment buildings. It is strictly single family homes. So that's why it's highly desired. There are some areas in Fort Lauderdale that tend to be more mixed. For example, Victoria Park tends to be more mixed. All right, so right now we are in Coral Ridge. So Coral Ridge is a neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale, which is actually one of the premier neighborhoods in the area. So I'm gonna walk you through. You're really gonna notice that most of the homes are very much large estate homes. We're talking about anywhere starting at about 5 bedrooms plus. The price range for a dry lot, which is essentially not on the water, is around the range of about, I would say, $1 million plus. And really for $1 million, you're gonna get kind of a fixer-upper. So it's a really beautiful neighborhood, very upscale. I'm gonna show you a couple of homes down the end of this particular street. Essentially, the homes on the water start at roughly about 8 million and kind of going up from there. I even saw one priced at 17 million, which is a large home with lots of land. And on the other side of this particular street is Hugh Taylor Park. So there's not really anything across the way, so you don't have any neighbors, hence probably why the price is so high. So you're gonna see the homes here. It's kind of a mix of architectural styles. You definitely have more of a Florida ranch, kind of sprawling single family home type of situation. But then again, lots of new construction coming in. So down the way here, I'm going to show you 2 homes. The first one is actually listed on the market for $3.75. So I'm going to swap around this way so you can kind of see it. It's actually a really pretty home, 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and 5,800 square feet. So it's a really nice home. Obviously it has a pool. But this home at this price point isn't even on the water. So definitely a much higher price point. And then over here on the right, as we walk down further, is another home. This one appears to be actually under contract. This is a pretty magnificent home, newer construction, metal roof, absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna walk around this truck so that you guys can see what the home looks like. And here we are. So absolutely gorgeous, really pretty home. And then down the end of the street, we have Intercoastal Drive, which features lots of pretty homes right on the waterway. So Coral Ridge, great neighborhood, excellent location, really close to everything. So we're gonna be taking a quick drive down to the neighborhood where we're gonna wrap up the day, which is Flagler Village. It's a little adorable and kind of big downtown area where essentially it's just off Las Olas, and there's a lot of new construction going on in that neighborhood. So Coral Ridge, beautiful neighborhood. You can see here we're driving along Intercoastal Drive. The homes on the left are on the water, have lots of gorgeousness, lots of new construction. You can really see that, and they are right on the water, and the beach is actually pretty close by. So to get over to the beach would essentially take about 10 to 15 minutes at the most. So now we're driving on Bayview Drive. This is kind of like the main road that goes through Coral Ridge. Okay, so we are driving down Federal Highway and we are quickly approaching Flagler Village. So Flagler Village is an interesting area of Fort Lauderdale. It's actually pretty new. Most of the development here has really come probably in the early to mid 2000s. A lot of this area was really just empty lots and some kind of like warehouses, I think it was. So it's been nice to see a lot of new construction coming in. You can see all the buildings to the right, and then to the left you have Holiday Park, which is right in Victoria Park. And then Victoria Park is adjacent to Las Olas. So it's all kind of a little bit interconnected, which is nice. So over here you can kind of see a few businesses kind of left over from these kind of shorter buildings, but most of it has been redeveloped. And we're going to drive through a couple of the streets here so you can see how nice it really is. Most of the area has condos, and then there's a couple of new buildings coming in. One of them being the Viceroy and the other one being Umbel. Both those buildings are very nice. They're currently under construction, so it's going to be brand new construction. It'll be a really nice boon to the area because they're very, very luxury. There's a whole enchilada over on the right, and you'll see some additional businesses over here on the right side. This restaurant called Hatched, of course, as I mentioned before, I love breakfast food, so Hatched has great breakfast. They have a great brunch. Over here on the left, there's a Winn-Dixie, and then up ahead, you're gonna have a Whole Foods as well. So I'm a South Florida native, and I've really seen South Florida essentially grow up, especially over the last 20 years, and I've seen Fort Lauderdale do the same thing. So seeing the development of Flagler Village has been kind of exciting, really interesting, just to see the density here. Right in Flagler Village, you're going to have the Brightline station. That Brightline station, you can take it down to Miami. There's a stop right in downtown Miami, and you can take that train to downtown West Palm and then all the way up to Orlando. So it's quite convenient to have that nearby. So here on the right, we have a couple of other restaurants and businesses. It's just a really, really cute little area. There's a little district within Flagler Village that actually features these really interesting and cool lofts. So a loft is essentially kind of like the way they have them in New York City. It's like an open concept. So the living room, dining room, kitchen, and also the bedroom is completely open. So it's actually really cool. It's not really something that you see in South Florida. I know that there's a couple areas in Miami that have them. I've seen them. In Fort Lauderdale, you don't see it that much, but this particular street has about 3 buildings that were all developed around the same time, and they offer that really cool loft living. It's very downtown. Umbel is over here on the left, so that's going to be a brand new development. They're going to have an Equinox, which is a nice gem, very upscale, and we're gonna make a right here on Northeast 3rd, and here you can see kind of another side of Flagler Village. Here is another new construction over here on the right. Lots of construction popping up everywhere in Flagler Village, which is great to see. Right by Flagler Village, you also have a little arts district. It's called the Fats Art Village. A couple of restaurants in there as well. And you have the Sistrunk Marketplace, which has a couple of eateries. So it's a very cool area. of Fort Lauderdale that's not to be missed if you love condo living and downtown living. So you've probably been wondering, what's the best kept secret in Fort Lauderdale? It is actually the difference in pricing between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So 90% of the time, you're gonna get a much better value in Fort Lauderdale versus Miami. That includes the surrounding areas. And the great thing is that Fort Lauderdale offers a very similar lifestyle. Beaches, condo living, a downtown kind of lifestyle, condo living, views, all the amazing things that South Florida has to offer, and definitely for a lot less money. So that's your best kept secret in Fort Lauderdale. So what did you think of Fort Lauderdale? It has so much history, lifestyle, and flexibility. That's why people continue choosing it over other South Florida cities. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything about living here and the surrounding areas, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about the current market in Fort Lauderdale. My name is Hector Valdes, and I'm born and raised and have lived in South Florida my entire life. My team and I love helping people make their move to Fort Lauderdale, whether it's 9 days or 9 months. Feel free to reach out. Our contact info is in the description, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale.